Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Trinidad Humanity Campaign public meeting number 15 and our final public meeting for this local government election 2023. We thank all of you who have taken the time to view these videos. We understand that a lot of the points that I've made in these videos have been repetitive, but that is strictly because we know that there'd be viewers who would only watch one video and not look at the others. So we've repeated a lot of our policy points, especially within the last 14 meetings, right? No one has ventured to call yet. You all are welcome to call and comment. If you're using a number this time, use 737-8321. 737-8321. You all are welcome to call in. I'll put it on the YouTube chat. And you all are welcome to call in anytime and, comment and ask your questions. And so just finished, finally, today, Sunday, day before the election, just finished our walkabouts because we didn't go with teams of people and music trucks and, all of this, madness and entertainment, because we don't believe governance and anyone coming to talk to you about governance should be about entertainment and entertaining. It should be about serious issues. So one driver, two people at the most walking. It took us quite a while, of course, to cover every street within our electoral district, St. Val, St. Joseph. But I can proudly say that every mailbox I was able to reach, I have put a flyer with our mini manifesto in, and we hope that even today, tonight, tomorrow morning, before you go towards your vote, if you live within our electoral district of Val, St. Joseph, then please check your mailbox and see our mini manifesto. For those of you who don't find it, it's on our Facebook page under the post of each of our candidates for all of the different electoral districts that we're contesting. So we ask you to, of course, please read and consider. That's it. Please read and consider. If you find that our points are sensible, if you think that our policies and our plans are reasonable and feasible, and that there are things and points that you should be hearing and have not heard from any of your local government representatives, candidates or central government representative or candidates in the last 2 decades, 20 years, and you find these points reasonable, then come out tomorrow and support us. Because if you stay home, it is like giving it back to the two large entities, because they have their core supporters. You know what it is? They come with the maxis and pick up people and take them down to the polling stations and stuff. We're not doing any of that. Right? No one has asked us to, in terms of anyone being elderly or handicapped or anything, because we've offered if that is the case. But outside of that, no, we haven't received any of those requests. So again, if you support us, please come out and support us by casting your vote, exercising your civic right. Yeah. What can I say in this final meeting this evening? Right, I do wish some of you would call in and give us some of your comments, and let's get some feedback from you. We've a couple of people have asked me, why haven't you brought in the other candidates and stuff and had them do a meeting or so? Well, I mean, guys, while we're doing the live meetings, realistically, the viewership on the live meetings is very low. We get a lot of views after the fact, sure, but we really catered this originally with the idea of holding it as a public meeting, whereby people would, on the live broadcast, would call us and message us and correspond with us whilst we're in the live broadcast, so we could address those points and issues that persons may have. But we didn't see that happening, so we decided to utilize this as more of advertising for our points and policies, so that more of you can hear what we stand for and what we believe in. Not everybody likes to read. Apparently, more people like to watch videos. So this might be a good way to reach more people than not. So this is the method we have taken. I don't know yet if I'll go back into those policy points, because I know most of our live viewers now are repeat viewers. So again, I welcome you. Comment, ask us if you have any questions, any issues, any things you'd like us to address. But I will continue making one main point that is not. I see. Okay, so the person who's WhatsApping me, messaging me on WhatsApp, if you would kindly send me your message, because I'm using my mobile device for the Facebook Live this evening, we're asking you to WhatsApp us or call us directly on 737-8321. 737-8321. All I'm seeing is the little pop-up of the messages, or you're welcome to comment on the Facebook video or on the YouTube, whichever one of them you are viewing right now, and send us those messages, please. I did get to see a little piece of the message that said he's from Hutton Street in Champlain there, which we just completed. We just did the entire Hutton Street from the top, come right down, every mailbox. We talked to a few people, and that is one of the larger party strongholds usually at that area, as I was told. But we've gotten, again, just as per usual, a lot of people seem finally fed up with the representation before them. There's only one gentleman that stuck to asking me about what will I do about crime and central government relation issues, and I had to keep explaining to him. I think today's Sunday, so he had a few drinks, but we had to keep explaining to him that it's a local government, and none of the councillors elected are going to be able to affect the things that the two large parties and others are talking about. All of these plans of changing laws and addressing crime reduction from central government perspective, they are not. It seems that no other party has been able to bring down their crime plans or crime reduction plans to the local government perspective and to the council and community perspective, outside of talking about additional municipal police officers, which, again, I ask you, when last have you seen a municipal police officer, right? And talking about community watches and community groups, and come on, man, we're doing that for decades now, right? What we're suggesting is something totally different, right? We're suggesting plans that can actually work, because instead of giving up on the responsibility of public safety and saying to you that we now think that you should defend yourself from the criminals, right? Because we apparently can't manage the national security apparatus in elected positions anymore, right? So then because remember, they are elected representatives, they have a duty, right? Then if we have to tell you that, then we've given up, right? When there are tons of policies that are still available to be put in place that nobody seems to be looking at. I mean, look at London. I keep referring to London because London had serious problems with crime before they put their camera monitoring system in place. But they put a system in place whereby it's so popular now. It's in the movies, right? Let's look at some of those movies that talk about you can't go in London anywhere without being seen in those action and crime movies and all that stuff. But they try to duck and find blind spots and all that stuff. And that's because London's popularity with using this method of monitoring and having such great and successful results, to the point that their police officers don't even carry firearms, right? Their patrol officers, there's only special units that carry firearms in London, right? That's how much they were able to reduce crime by allowing this monitoring and putting this monitoring system in place. And one of the things we have to put in place is 1,000 cameras within each electoral district we represent, one in every corner, monitored, yes, by the police stations responsible for those electoral districts, right? Set up an operation center for them, decentralize the operation center, and basically, right? And at the same time, purchase the body cameras and vehicle cameras and GPS devices to monitor those officers at these stations. Holistic plans, folks, holistic plans. We understand the reality of situations on the ground, so we're addressing things holistically, completely, not just one for the other. We're going to buy 20 cameras and 10 charging devices, like what happened in central government, and the program gets crap because the cameras couldn't be charged in time. Ridiculous, right? Ridiculous, right? Come on, you don't know how to take an inventory and how to do a proper purchase order. Behave, right? Come on. That is part of management. If you don't have real management skills, then that is where those problems will arise. So if we elect in a team every few years to manage our public resources, manage our public safety, manage our public health, and they're not able to manage it, the best thing they could do is privatize it. And I talk about two large parties, not one, right? Then shouldn't we be putting better managers in place, or at least somebody else to try to do the job at the very least? So these are some of the things that we look at, in terms of being able to bring those plans down. We actually have real innovation, right? I also have to keep reminding people that, if it's the most common thing I hear is, well, everybody have plans and policies and everybody is make promises, and when they get in there, they take our money and they don't do nothing. And all these 100 faces you've seen so far have represented two parties, correct? Now you have a chance for the first time of a third entity, somebody to play a watchdog role in that council position, somebody to be able to pull up the socks of the two large parties, because this is the main point I was about to make. Apparently, the people on the street are telling me I should include that point and I should mention it more, because people don't know and they need to know. I'll start off by saying this. When you register with the EBC and you register a political symbol, that is for you to have a registered political party with the EBC, you cannot take that registration and go to the bank with it, right, to open a bank account. The bank tells you that you have to register first with the legal affairs, right, either non-profit or for-profit company or something of this nature, because it's an entity. When you go to the legal affairs, and they will tell you that since you already registered the symbol or the name with the ABC, you cannot register this name with legal affairs. And if you can't register with legal affairs, you can't get the bank account. So I have asked numerous bank managers around the country in various banks over the years, what then is the common practice over the last decades of time, especially with two large entities and others, right? Where do their monies go when they get campaign contributions and donations of, $1,000, $1 million, 10 million, 100 million, whatever it is? Where does it go? I couldn't believe it. Every manager said the same. It goes into their personal accounts. In a day and age where you cannot commingle monies from your business bank account with your personal bank account, these individuals with registered political parties are able now to take donations of any size into their personal accounts with no oversight body as to how they spend it. This is where the corruption takes place usually. Let me explain how now. So I'll bring it to the corporation level. Of course, it happens at the central government level, but I'll bring it to the corporation level. When there's $100 million, for example, in Tanapuna Piako Regional Corporation, my corporation, for the year, to engage in projects. That's after the monies for salaries and all that stuff, right? Just for projects. Instead of saying, just for example, let's spend this money and do $52 million projects, they would take the same $2 million projects. People would actually tender $2 million for the projects, and they bypass those people who tender the $2 million, and they'd give it to certain individuals who tender $15 and $20 million for the same $2 million project. When those people tender and they get the thing now, because the tender process is hush hush, nobody can see it, right? And they give that person, when they collect the money, they will donate into campaign donation and contributions at 3 million or 5 million into those personal accounts of those individuals. That is how the corruption takes place legally. There's no law against that. Understand? And this is what we can stop. Yes, the first time around, when we reach in there, if we get elected and get in there as one councillor or two councillors amongst 20 in Tanapuna Piako Regional, among 16 councillors and 4 aldermen in Tanapuna Piako Regional Corporation, and we say, but wait, we just saw a man tender 2 million for this project. Why you all want to give this man this project for 20 million? And they say, well, let's vote. And we vote, and they vote the man for 20. The man for 20 will get that first project. But I will go on the media to you, the people, through every mainstream and social media we have, and show what is happening and ask the question, why didn't the first gentleman, who's qualified and experienced and has everything, all the equipment, everything, why he wasn't given the contract? Maybe from the community too, why he wasn't given the contract and outside for $20 million, and show them up, right? If we had to take them to court, we will take them to court. But we need that official position to be able to see who's tendering what in that tender process, to know and to stop the mismanagement. Otherwise, we don't have the ability. That is what it is. We need that watchdog role in there to pull up on the two large parties and stop that mismanagement, so that in 3 months into the year, you won't be able to hear from your councillor, the money done. It have no more money because we gave 5 $20 million projects instead of $52 million projects of the same size and tune. That is how the money in the corporation is get eaten up. That is how the money even in central government is get eaten up. This is where the mismanagement, and for lack of a better word, corruption, right, happens. And this is what we need, somebody who's outside of those two large parties, who's accustomed with their campaign finances and friends, to stop. This is the only way, because none of the you've seen it, 20 years of electing councillors and different representatives, nobody has stood up and said, my party doing strippiness. This is what's happening. They're giving contracts to people for untold amounts, and they're giving terrible value for the people money, right? No one's doing that because they're afraid they get put out of the party. We are our own party. We can do that. Plus, we've contested the last 3 general elections. We are seeking your vote. Every one of us who's going up now will be seeking your vote in 2025 for that general election. Therefore, we have no choice but to be the hardest working councillors you've seen for the next 2 years, to prove our salt to you and to prove we worth your vote in 2025. Otherwise, it won't make sense. Somebody asked me today on the Facebook, what will happen, if we get a more lucrative position while we elected councillor, if we will leave that for that job. That person don't know the salary of the councillor is like $2,500 a month. Everything is more lucrative than that. That is not how the position works. right? You have to understand how things work. So in central government, you're expected to leave your position 45 years and stay in that. And that's why those people receive a pension as soon as they leave. You could be 40 years old, you receive that pension when you leave because you're not expected to work again in central government. That's not how local government works at all, right? We are people that leave lucrative positions and roles to enter into this position because we want to make a change for us in the country. When I say us, I mean all of us, because we live here too. Again, you can't come out your house because you're afraid of the crime. I can't come out my house because I'm afraid of the crime. If you haven't flood outside your house 3 feet of watermark, I right here in North Valsayn having 4 feet of watermark on my house. That is how this works, right? I need the changes as much as you. This is why we put in ourselves up for governance. This is why we would make the best councillors and the best candidates for you, because we are there to fight against that mismanagement and get better value for all of our money. They can't pay me nothing, and nobody can pay me. We can't be bought with it. Listen, I mean, I have different job positions in my life, and it pays quite a lot sometimes. You think I leave in those things to jump in? No, that is the only reason we do this is because we've reached a point, people. We're losing 1 Trinidadian a day minimum. And it could be me tomorrow, it could be you tomorrow. It's at random. It's not to say, oh, the fellas and the gangs and the criminal elements killing out each other. No. It's affecting rich and poor, all sides of the spectrum, every day. It's like a dystopian movie on Netflix or something where you're watching this thing and I say, yeah, that's like the Purge, boy. One of them people in that country agree to lose one of their citizens a day. Right? Like sacrificing me or something. It's madness, right? And nobody's addressing it. Listen, we at the THC, I myself have spoken to directly the Minister of National Security, who I consider an acquaintance, right? I understand, I don't bad talk nobody. I will try to show the right way. And we've promoted to him, and I promoted directly to the Commissioner of Police verbally, and to both of those people through official writings, through myself, the party, another outside group that I worked with recently. We put forward those things to them, and nothing. All the crime plans, we talk about increased presence and visibilities, countrywide plans now, just like we did we used the 2009 summit when the then US President Obama was here. And remember what they did? They take regiment and police officers and put them in vehicles at every intersection in the east-west corridor, on the highway, on the main road, and at the entrances and exits to most of the high priority areas. And what happened was the newspapers reported a 90-something% reduction in crime. I don't even think they had murders back for those 10 days. Which was really interesting, because that means we tried a method and tested and proved it right here in Trinidad and Tobago. And now we have more resources, more cars, more officers than we did in 2009. And it takes no more money to organize this thing. It's just a reorganization of the existing resources. I beg on TV and a couple of them morning programs, Commissioner of Police, please, right? At least entertain one of us here and try that strategy, which was already tested and proven in Trinidad. Just try it for 2 weeks. What is going to hurt you to try it and put officers forget the regiment, just use the officers that we have and put them in those same positions for 2 weeks and see if it makes a difference. Because if it does reduce crime even a little bit, you would become one of the most celebrated commissioners we've had in the last decade. You're going to beat Gary. Sorry, I don't call people names. My apologies. Right? My apologies. Right? But that is how it will work. Right? And any of these parties, right, if they actually put something in place when they are in the position of management to reduce crime a little bit, bring we down from 7 and 10 murders a week to 5 now, right? We as the small parties would have no chance to compete against them, because they would actually be doing something which is part of their mandate, part of their job, that we the people hire them for every few years, hire by election, to manage our public resources, to manage our monies in this country, to manage the 24 billion US GDP at central government level. I still don't know why we budget every year is only less than half of that, right? And where the rest is, I have a lot to question into that aspect still, but leave that for the next 2 years. Let's talk about corporation level things. Let's talk about what the councillors could do. Right? They cannot. Why do you think? Well, you think we alone have the ability to put this monitoring system in place and put 1,000 cameras in your area? No, every councillor has that option, but they're not going to do it. Why they're not going to do it? But you really had to ask them. They could tell you it had no money. That project will cost $30 million. But if you call one of the electronic stores tomorrow and you detail the specs of the cameras, the systems, the everything, you will find that the actual retail cost to you in Trinidad with the maintenance contract per year, right, a yearly maintenance contract, is less than 2 million TT. So why when they issue a contract to somebody, they must charge us $20 million and $30 million for the same projects? You know, when I got into governance, you know what? I mean, you know what's the straw that broke the camel's back for me? In 2010, when the flagpole cost $2 million. You all remember that? It's still standing. Still standing down there at the stadium, the flagpole. That big flag you see there. Not the bigger one by Center Excellence, you know. Right? The one in town. $2 million for that flagpole. With the flag. Asking, leading us and prompting us to ask the question back then, even a number of people through the public, is the pole made of gold? Is the cloth made of the finest silk? What is going on? Where the jail they could find and justify $2 million a piece of iron and a piece of cloth. You remember the bus shed recently? How much it was? 5? You remember? 5 million, 2 million, 10 million? The bus shed, the bus terminal, the building, they got and cut ribbon and thing for and all these things. Millions of dollars. Something that will cost me $15,000 if you hire a fabricator properly to do it better than that, right? Millions. This is where the mismanagement of the funds and the bold face is like they put it out to you like if you would not be able to tell, you know, like if you don't live in a house and have never paid for construction and you're not a thinking adult, like if you don't know the cost of things in a hardware, that's how bold face from 20, 10, 13 years ago, and it's only been getting worse. Can I remember when they wrecked the fire truck, right? And the bill came for the cost of the bill for the wrecking was more than the fire truck and the wrecker. Come on. Look at the stadium. $200 million starting cost, over $1 billion ending cost. That's why the projects that you're seeing now, right? $70 million to the Miaro Highway. That's very reasonable. How much all you want to bet that price change drastically after this election tomorrow and over the next few weeks from $70 million to $300 million? I bet you. I will bet you. And the same thing goes, look, you all saw what happened today, right? Yesterday and a Saturday when offices were closed, offices and public offices were open to make sure 30,000 people get their tax rebate check before the election. Your money, you know, your money that a tax rebate check is your money that the government is owing to you because you either paid too much on your VAT, on your taxes, on your whatever it is, so you are getting a rebate. It's not a rebate from a surplus budget, like we keep discussing, you know, that the country is supposed to develop a surplus budget and then issue every taxpayer a rebate. That you know, we talking about when you overpay on your taxes and they had to issue you a rebate, right? And they owing these people for years and they decide now, every one of them who's less than $20,000 rebate, we go pay them back. So they get 30,000, 33,000 people, right? And they issued those things yesterday to Managayo. Like if you forget it's your money that they owe in you a long time that you're finally getting back. You get back with any interest. No. You ain't get that. Right? You get back your money. So I lend a man $20, I get back 5 years later and he say, hey, boy, I want you to vote tomorrow. You know, get look back at $20 you lend me 5 years ago. That's what they're falling for. 280 bursaries given out for scholarships. 280 from a central government. 280. That's a neighborhood. That's not a country. That's mama guy. That's to me, that's worse than coming around with the music truck and dancing and giving it the jersey. Because all that is part of the same mama guy. And for the life of me, I don't know how a lot of people can't see that and can't understand that. The jersey that I could give you that would cost me $100 to make will cost you thousands and tens of thousands in the lack of representation you will get in the next few years. Is that the road we want to continue going? Are we not tired? Have we not realized that the safety of our children, of our families, of ourselves is in danger? Everybody, from the richest of the rich in one part of the country to the poorest of the poor, to the people with the licensed firearms and the people without, right? We need a better governance structure and we need somebody. I know this is not central government election. I know what I can and cannot do, but we can lead by example if elected as a councillor, and we can complete these projects for crime reduction and monitoring and the transparency issues, the food project, the food security projects, and the job creation projects. And once we do it in there and show the actual cost, the actual low cost of these things, then how? Tell me how, if we go through in the media, you will never see a councillor come out in the media and nearly monthly or bi-weekly basis and come out and talk to you, the people, and say, look, what's going on. You see just how the central government has used the TV and come out and give reports now and has be all political. Well, I going to be very similar, but it wouldn't be political. It can be about giving you reports as to what we've done and what big things we've done through the corporation level, and then ask the question through the media, hey, central government, if we could do this at this cost here in our little positions, why haven't you been able to do it in more districts in the country as central government? You elected representatives of the opposition. Why haven't you been exercising your duties and rights and getting these things done in your electoral districts? Are you not responsible for them? Isn't this the position you applied for and got hired to through election? And embarrass them. Force their hand to do the right thing, to get better transparency, accountability, and management of the resources for all of us in the country. I keep saying, if elected, we will use those positions and to the best of our abilities. We wouldn't just use it to try to affect positivity in the corporation and the council. You know, and hitting them at central government level. Let them come out and say again, we were $200 million. We're putting out our project with $200 million for an interchange. No? I will get the specs and give the specs to other companies and send out a request for proposal, which is free, right? And if them companies come up with a 50, 75 million, what we hitting them through the TV again. Look, this company said 75 million, the same specs. Let's at least send everything in more detail and see if they say the same thing. And look, at the very least, we found better value for the money of the people and help you at central government to get better value. Again, embarrass them to do the right thing. This is what our role is here in this local government election this time. And to be honest with you, is what we perceived our role to be if elected in a general election in the past 3 general elections that we've contested. Because even though people would have said to us, look, you don't have enough members to form the government, meaning i.e. less than 20 something, right? 21, then 22, right? For form. Then you're in a position where 21. You're in a position where we would sit as an independent opposition on the bench. And if you sit as an independent opposition and you don't have to vote caucus in when voting on bills and the merit or the disadvantages of bills, meaning that you don't have to vote with one of the 2 larger parties, whatever you think doesn't matter is what they say goes. No, you will actually have the ability to speak on these things. Do you know that as an elected representative, even at the opposition level, you have the ability to put forward bills? You see, just how the government has come and say, okay, we're putting forward this bill now, we're going to read it, first reading, second reading, debate, right? You as an opposition member could do that too. But we have a very lazy opposition, unfortunately, who doesn't even put forward proper amendments towards bills at times, right? And I well have the experience with them from both parties with the cannabis bill. I see the mistakes made on both sides and the ridiculousness, right, from the direct officers and the direct individuals themselves. And it amazes me that we elect these individuals to represent us over and over again. I mean, you do it once and you see these trippiness, you do it again. And there's no time. Look at the EDC website and look at the history of elections and political parties in this country. And you will notice that there's been no time in our general election political history that there's only been 2 political parties contesting. At the very worst, sometime in the 90s, there were 3 parties. But every other time from 1956, when there were 8 parties and 19 independents, come up to 2020, when there were 19 parties and about 4 or 5 independents, come up to now 2023, when in this election, you have 10 political parties contesting and 6 independents. So in most of the 141 districts, you have a 3rd and 4th and sometimes even a 5th option, right? For the first time. Exercise those rights and see and learn to me. Yeah, we had the night before the election, but come on. If you know you have 4 people now going to be on your ballot tomorrow, shouldn't you have heard what all 4 have to say? Shouldn't you as the employer hiring these people through election to do a job for you that your tax-paying dollars paying them to do? Again, that is what it is. Shouldn't you check to see if they can manage, if they're qualified? What is their track record? Do they have integrity? Right? Look, we see in some aspects in the news where certain councillors being investigated for all kind of different things, who are you? So you're supposed to know. You're supposed to look into it and try to find out a little bit about who are these people. Yeah? Because otherwise, you're just, again, voting on parties, and that's what most of it is. We don't care. We don't even know who the representative is, but we know it are 2 large parties, and we're for one of them, so we vote in them regardless. Well, if you're happy with the way things are and have been for the last 2 decades and change, and continue to vote them. That's what I say to all my registers. Everybody has a choice. If you are happy and contented with the representation you have gotten in the past from both of the large entities, you all have the choice. Elect them again. But if you want somebody different and you want a change, More importantly, you want someone who will work for you and not give you excuses and not give out projects for too much money, and then 3 months into the year, all the corporation money for project done and all this kind of stupidity, right? And then apparently somebody would give people who flood water, who house the touch flood water, give them the grants, and people who nearly sink in, right, do give them nothing. It's crazy. It's crazy. So if you want something better, finally, you have a chance. In the 4 electoral districts we represent, and as I just said, in most of the electoral districts, you will have a third and fourth and fifth choice. I don't have to name those parties for you. You all go and look for them, right? If you want something different, at least give someone else a chance in those electoral districts and see if they do different, because you're risking nothing much at the local government level. You're not splitting no votes and swinging the election and all the stupidness that I keep hearing at a general election time, because we all believe in this two-party system. And as I said, 19 parties in the 2020 general election. And how many of them have you heard about? Why? Why we don't do more? Because it's $250,000 for a 1-hour media broadcast in the night that you'll be seeing those political parties using. Why use that money for that $55,000 or 1 day, 1 page ad in the newspaper? Take that money and buy ambulances for the health centers instead of paying exorbitant rates to private owners of those ambulances, right? Exorbitant. Eh? I mean, literally 5 ambulance rides could buy ambulance. All right, maybe not so much, but 50. Okay, 50 ambulance rides could buy ambulance. Why spend that money? It's the same thing with the water for your toilet. The monies we've spent in the last decade, we could have built 10 plants and have the people own it, owned by the people of the country. But no. Finances had to make money, because if the government cannot. Why? Oh, let me explain it. If the government put forward all these projects that they normally give exorbitant contracts and inflated cost contracts to private people to do, if they do it through the corporation, you ask yourself, how come the steamroller and all them things in the corporation pack up for like 20 years now? How come you don't see the corporation steamrollers building highway anymore? You don't remember a long time? When road damage long time, highways, right? Is corporation steamrollers, public government steamrollers, and people coming out to fix it, all hours of the day and fixing, Now we're giving certain companies giant amounts of money to do the same project. $80 million a mile, where it'll cost you 8 in the corporation. Why? Because the government, if they do it themselves, cannot take any money out of that to give to their campaign financing. So if you give it to private individuals, you strike a deal and you say, all right, instead of giving the man for the 2 million, as I just said, you give a man for 20 million, and you give him plenty more money than he's supposed to get, and he take out a 5 million from that and he give you back in campaign financing. This is why the projects are all privatized, folks. This is why we don't engage in the public fixing and thing anymore, because the government, nobody steals from the treasury. Nobody goes into the treasury and opens the vault and take out $1 million. That is not how it works. That is not how the corruption works. It works just how as I just said it to you. You give certain people inflated cost contracts, they take out some and they give it back to you in your personal account. Personal account. Ask the banks. Call the bank and say, I have a political party, I want to register a bank account. Here they tell it. Do it. Simple. You don't believe me. So again, we need that watchdog role in there. We need that watchdog role in there to stop this mismanagement of our resources. And you finally have the opportunity and the option. Right? Again, we're going to vote. We seeking your vote in 2025. We have to be the hardest working councillors in the next 2 years. I mean, even if we man a guy in here, right? Then at the very worst, we would go in there and give you the same level of representation you've gotten in the last 20 years. At the very worst. But if somebody like us in our group and our candidates are seeking your vote in a general election, and we have no choice, it's not even for the full term of the 3 years of the council, right? It's 2. So in that 2 years, we have to work real hard from week 1, week 2, all them things. You're supposed to be seeing big projects happening for little monies. Everything that we've committed to, right? You're supposed to see from day 1 our jobs in the camera, put on the same YouTube channel that we have here and see everything we're doing in the corporation, all the receipts, all the invoices, everything that passed before us, you will be able to see. Because if we're representing you, then you're supposed to be able to see what we see outside of issues dealing with national security, which are hard-pressed. You'll be hard-pressed to find corporation levels dealing with national security issues. You understand? So we could get these things done. We could bring that level of transparency. We want to push the ideal and make sure it happens and mandate that every contract given out, the contractor who gets the contract has to scan every invoice and every receipt and thing that they pay for materials and all that and put it on a tab on the website so that you and I will know they didn't pay $2,000 for a hammer when we pay in 14 the hardware. Right? Because obviously, if one man could bid $2 million for a project and the next man could bid 20 for the same project and get the project, that he has to inflate costs somewhere along the line too. But there's no detailed introspection into those things. And this is what we deserve as owners of the country. Otherwise, we just letting money fly. And I doubt you're doing that in your own business and your own household. So why are you doing it in your country? That's where the bigger resources is. Understand that this is the highest management roles there are. CEOs of companies and stuff are managers for companies and deal with X amount of millions of dollars and so forth. These are management roles that deal with billions of dollars at the central government level and hundreds of millions of dollars at the corporation level. I just told you a little over $200 million a year to turn up on a Aboriginal corporation. You're putting 16 councillors and 4 aldermen in charge of that money for them to decide how it is divested. So if it were me, which I try to do, you try to find out who. Look, in my area in Val St. Joseph, I noticed, especially in the Champlain and the St. Joseph area, one of the large parties has their posters up on all the pools, which they're supposed to take down by tonight, midnight. But they go and claim that their burgesses put it up, they had nothing to do with it. So in other words, you, the electorate, went and spent your money and print flyers with the candidate and everything, and you put it up on the pool. So because of that, they're not responsible for taking it down. That is what is happening. When they paint the road and all that, they see the burgesses do it. We didn't do it. Our supporters, we can't control them. They did all this stuff. They defaced the public property. That is what they do. I don't know how many of you all know that, but that's the case. That's why you still see stuff after elections. We are going out at 11:30 tonight and take down, well, I was going to tell you to take down the 8 signs, poster boards that we've put up in different parts of the electoral district. But today, when passing around, we noticed 2 missing. Now, we had a couple signs fall and we mount them back up and all that stuff. Strong winds. It's plastic cardboard we're using. But 2 of them, one in bamboo settlement number 2 and one in bamboo settlement number 3, disappeared completely. And the one in bamboo settlement number 3, you couldn't move that. That couldn't be blown off by wind or anything. Somebody physically took it. And there's no way on the ground. It took it with them. This is what has happened. The bigger parties has passed when they rallied and say, "Nah, boy, you can't have that. Just pull it down and carry it with them and say, right." So they're taking my money then basically. Now I will say I could recycle them signs and put a little sticker over August the 14th and use it in 2025. Well, so much of that money. Well, let's work for it tonight to pull down signs. But this is the reality that they are using in my electoral district. One of the parties is putting the wrong candidate. You hear what I say? Because it became apparent to them, I think, that the actual candidate for the area is not going to get a lot of support because they've done nothing, right? Or done the wrong thing. So it seems the strategy is to change the face. The candidate remains the same on the ballot, but the face on the posters is the candidate for the area next door. That's real weird, but you're telling me it's a mistake. They put up hundreds of posters in the wrong area. I actually have seen no posters with the actual candidate's face. None. In none of the areas from that party. So this is their political strategy to hide that person from you in the electoral district of Val St. Joseph. Right? Hide that person who didn't do nothing for the last 2 years. Right? And put a different face of a councillor who's not actually the councillor for this area. They're actually for the Mount Lambert area. Right? And put that in your district so you will think, oh, they changed the person. So maybe this new person, although it's the same party, maybe this new person will have learned and would do something different than the last person. As I keep saying, 100 different faces, but only 2 parties. Finally, you have a 3rd party. Exercise your right, people. And exercise your sense. Right? I hope you all go out with strong minds tomorrow. And I hope you all seek tonight, if you haven't done it before, the information about all the candidates that's going to appear in your ballots. Don't let it surprise you. You know, much people said to me today, oh, we really see that symbol on the ballot last time, in general election in 2020, but we didn't know anything about it. Well, we didn't seek. I mean, yes, it's our responsibility to get out the word as much as possible, but how much are we going to do? Isn't it? Don't you have any responsibility as the electorate, as the employer, hiring persons through electing to manage the public resources for you, to manage your tax-paying dollars? If you're the employer, you should take some responsibility too, in my opinion. That is my opinion, right? And go out there and seek the information about your candidates and try and see who they are, what they stand for, and what they promising, for lack of a better word. We don't like the word promises. We say we are making these commitments to you. Yeah, we know it's semantics to a point, right? But to me, promises is things you make in relationships and family and friends and things, right? Commitments is something you do on a job, right? Because when you commit to something on a job, you're supposed to do it. The next part of things we despise is people getting celebrated for doing the job. And if you've exceeded the expectations of your job, then you should be commended for something. But if you're just filling mandate of your job, we reach that point in this country, and a lot of services and public services, that when people actually do their job, they get a commendation. You make a man to cut the lawn, and he cut the lawn, and they gave him a trophy. Because every time he cut, otherwise, he's leaving out a quarter of the loan or half of the loan. And you're paying him the full price. Right. And for the one time he cut the whole loan, you say, okay, well, first time you actually did your job, here's a trophy. Or here's a bonus. Madness. And this is governance. This is, again, something that affects every aspect of your life, from the water that you're drinking to the water in your toilet. And everything in between. Every product you buy. Every good and service you have to pay for. Every day you drive on your roads. Every public facility in and around your household, right? Your drainage, your electricity, your water, all these aspects of the public service that falls directly under the responsibility, and it's the common practice to only do those things of the council and the corporation. So if you all want another 3 years of the money done in 3 months because we gave out 5 projects for 20 million when we could have given the same projects at 50 at 2 million, because that's the actual cost, and you all want to continue hearing that, and you continue want to have issues with flooding in some of my burgesses, and beg your councillor, and they tell you, okay, fill out the form and do everything, and when come here again, nothing but you notice in house, no flood water touch, getting grants. If you want all those things to continue, you have the 2 regular choices on the ballot tomorrow. But if you want a change, and you want some real change, then look for the 3rd choice on your ballot tomorrow that are not those 2 large parties. If it is us in the 4 electoral districts we are competing in, right, then, and you support what we're saying and the ideals we stand for and the policies and plans we have, then by all means cast your vote for us. But if we're not on those ballots, and you fed up with what you've gotten from the same 2 large parties in the last 20 years, and there's a 3rd or maybe 4th or even 5th option on your ballot, then it's only sensible to cast your vote for one of those, even if you don't know what they've stood for, because at the very least, they're giving them a chance to show that they could do something. Maybe they can't. Then you can know, well, all right, general election time, we forget all about them because we give them a chance in this local government election at the council level, and they didn't do what they were supposed to do. Give them a chance now and see what it is. All of those smaller parties, give them the chance now. Because now is a great opportunity for them to prove to you whether they worth it or not, and whether they get into an elected management position at central government level eventually, if they'll do the job or they'll do the same stupidness. Test us now. Stop complaining general election time. They have no experience in governance. Give us the experience in the governance now. I personally have experience by working with governments throughout the Caribbean to modify law and policy in the last 4 years, 5 years, 2018 to now, right? But then most of those people in the 141 districts, the number of parties that contesting do actually have that. Find out that they could read and write a technical paper at the very least, because that is a big part of this job as a councillor. At the very least, and see if they're qualified, if they know what they're doing, and again, if they have actual plans to help. One of my burgesses said to me on the phone yesterday, a young man, 22 years old, said the second time he voted and he got the flyer, the mini manifesto, and he was very pleased to see that we actually have detailed plans, that we're not just saying we're going to resolve or reduce crime alone. We're telling you how. We're not just saying we're going to affect food security. We're telling you how. Everything, transparency, everything, job creation, everything. He said he's not seen that, and he said that, when the other 2 large parties came across his area, he spoke to one of them in particular, and he asked the councillor themselves, what are you going to do about crime reduction in the area? And their talk was, the rhetoric that you've kept hearing over the last month from 2 large parties, which are issues of central governments, laws about firearms, and no, we shouldn't have that law, and all these things. That's central government issues. No councillor you elect is going to have that ability to make new changes in that. That is just mama guy in here, right? And when told that by my Burgess, right, that young man, 22 years old, didn't speak to me before. He spoke to me after all this happened. I never met him before. After, he asked the person, he said, okay, well, that's central government stuff. What are you going to do at this local government if elected as councillor for our area? And they had no answer, because they don't know how to bring crime reduction plans down to the local government level. Not even the leadership of the parties have that ability, because they want to see it on their little placards and flyers that they printed and putting in their mailbox too, that have no details, just little short promises. I didn't know what to call it, because, I mean, you should have some detail, shouldn't you? But even at general election time, we see this, 70,000 jobs we're promising, but nobody says how. Our 2020 manifesto had how. We detail these things because these are the important parts. It's not then we just making empty promises. At the very least, if we know how to do it, then if elected, we should be able to do it. If we're not doing it at that point, then we really don't care about it and they're doing nothing. But at least test them and see if they know. No? In the meantime, at the first, don't depend on them to learn when they get there. That's not how it's supposed to work. So I didn't go into the main points today, and I won't, because it's the last meeting. You all have the ability to look back at our YouTube on the live tab. All of the videos are there. All 15 meetings will be on the live tab. They already, all 14 are there now. And on our Facebook page, both of them named YouTube and Facebook named Trinidad Humanity Campaign, you will be able to see all the videos that we've done for the last number of weeks, and be able to see the 14 meetings that we've had. Again, a lot of the points are repeated because we expect different viewers. Most people wouldn't watch 14 one-hour meetings. They might watch one if we're lucky, right? So we've kept repeating those points. Just as a quick gist, I did tell you too. I did tell you the transparency points, and I did tell you the crime reduction points that we have for our electoral district specifically, right? We also have food security by changing all the corporation lands. Instead of cleaning them up and all that, we convert them into agricultural spaces for both the residential and commercial level. If you're a farmer and you didn't have access to land before and you want to do a project that will increase our food security in the country, we all for it. Help you bring in the breeds and things too, because I keep saying bring in the right breeds of animals, and we just stop having to import all this Angus and all this type of thing. Why we can't do it? The sun too hot here? Well, they do some research, because I was taught in school, from the primary school, and I went to a private primary school. As I was discussing this with some of my friends recently. I asked them just yesterday, listen, because I saw an article that said something they want to bring back into the primary schools. Gosh, what was the first one? Steel pan. And I had to ask them, I say, wait, steel pan not in the primary schools? When you all in primary school, you all didn't have steel pan? And they said, well, yeah. A couple of them said no. And I had to, I asked them if they had agriculture, and they said, well, we plant red bean and thing and learn how it grew, primary school. I said, well, we went to private schools, we were paying fees. So we in 1986, it must have been, at St. Xavier's Primary School, right, up in St. Joseph here, within my electoral district, had set up hydroponic systems. We had a full hydroponic system. They're learning how to grow hydroponics. Maybe that's why I went, maybe that's why I know a lot more now. I don't know. We had classical music playing silently in the background to affect the right sides of our brains in 1986 from St. Xavier's Primary School. All these things, and none of these things have trickled into the public system education yet. And we keep talking about food security for well over a decade now, and we include this in this. Come on, right? So all of these aspects are things that we would look to try to bring. Now, we can't bring those things back at the local government level into schools and like central government business, but we could at least within our corporation set up a place where we could have activities where the schools now could bring the children on field trips and learn there. Maybe have their own plans, and again, lead by example, and then push the central government to put back the projects in the schools themselves. Genius plans? No, you could think of it, I could, everybody know these things. It just seems that the elected representatives to manage, for some reason, either can't think of it or know it and just not willing to put it in and then do it and enforce it. And that's what has really get to me, that, these is such simple plans. It's like what I told you about the security plans that we suggested to the Commission and the Minister of National Security directly and indirectly and officially and unofficially, and nothing that get done yet. And those are plans that have, there's a policy and strategy that has been tested, tried, and proven to have massive, incredible results for reduction of serious crimes in Trinidad and Tobago here locally. And up to now, not one trying to move it back forward and say, let me try it now. Let me put it back in place a little bit now, not a smaller level, just to see what can happen. Why? Because it came from somebody else. Being unmandated, I didn't put those plans forward as the THC necessarily. I put it forward as a number of ways, right? And I've told them at each level, we not claiming any credit for this because this was already done by the police commissioner of the time in Trinidad in 2009. That was James Filbert at the time, and through the Minister of National Security because regiment was involved. So this was never our plan. This is something you all did as governance in 2009. Just do it again, right? Just do it again and claim all the credit for it, right? And we as the small parties will have no chance to compete against you again because you would have done something great for your community by reducing the serious crimes for your country. Why are we not seeing that? It really irks me, right? And then job creation as the final plan, right? Again, they keep talking about agriculture and the youths will come out of crime and those youths that engaging in crime will come into the agriculture programs. And yes, agriculture can have a lot of money if you're willing to do the hard work, but not everybody agriculturally minded, right? There are a lot of these youths, especially these days, I'm not entrepreneurially minded. There are little projects and business ideas they want to set up. Right, so when they have that, they don't even know how to do a business plan. That could cost you up to 100,000 TT in some instances to build, and our candidates, are qualified to do it. So what we're saying is that to our burgesses, we will do it for you and ensure that you have all the documents to apply for a government grant or loan, guide you through that system. And if you're still refused and still can't get it, then we determine that your project has merit for our electoral district, for our communities. That we do have one of these businesses, it could bring more business to the community, is a good infrastructure, whatever it is. Right? We're not going to let you set up a business next to the same type of business or down the road from the same type to give too much, to give competition to a man who already established. If you have a different idea, a new idea, a different location, new location, yes, we will set a plan and program within the corporation to finance you at a zero interest loan. So when you become profitable, you're paid back in increments, right? For no interest. We don't want your money. Who knows? I don't know if this one possible yet, but maybe with all these same food projects, as with the food project, we also want to do it organically and set up a food market for people to be able to sell on small scale and large scale and organic standard. Again, lead all these things is to lead by example and then be able to promote these plans that would have been implemented and effected at the lowest possible cost and at the best possible value for people's money. Right? Go through the media and show what we've done through to local and central government, the other corporations and the central government, and ask the question, if we are able to do it, why can't you? And force their hand. That's all this is. This is a real watchdog role, right? And it's a chance and an opportunity for us at the THC to show you what we can do when we commit to something, who we are and what we're really about. God, I could only imagine it. What if you elect us, what we would do in the next a few months, right? You would be shocked. The entire country would be shocked. And that's what we depend on. We're depending on getting that. We're hoping if we get that position, we're depending on at that point to do the right thing to such a large extent, to push it through the media, that not just you, our electoral district, but everyone else in the country will realize to themselves, come general election 2025, Trinidad Humanity Campaign, the THC, is the best choice and is the best way to go to get everything we've always been asking for in this country. From 1956 election number 1 till now. Imagine that calypsos from the 60s, 70s, right? That's still singing about the same problems today. Imagine my burgesses still have people that are scheduled for water. Thank God again it because in my friend, my colleague, Christopher Matura's burgesses in Komuto Tamana, there are a number of residents in there who ain't seen running water in the pipe yet. 30 years they live in there, 40 years they live in there, and they ain't seen no running water yet. Right? Imagine that we talk about it during the 2020 general election. You think between then and now they got water? We didn't get elected, so the people who were in charge didn't get nothing. They didn't get no water. They're still in the same position. Passed through a 3-year pandemic, right? Where the biggest message was wash your hands and keep things sanitized, but we are giving you no water to do it. I didn't understand that for the life of me. But within my burgesses, in my areas and my burgesses in Val St. Joseph, I have people explain to me that their water schedule and 3 to 5 days a week they could get water dependent. And they had to store for the rest. In 2023, in an oil and gas-rich country with the second largest asphalt reserve, whose asphalt built no less than a quarter of the world's roads, 25%. In this country, you have people with no water. Shame. Right? That's what they should be. They should be damn shame of themselves. Sorry. They should be ashamed of themselves. Right? Uh, how? That is such poor management. That is such poor representation. And you know, those same people is normally cast their vote. Sad and disappointing. We are never going to be dejected enough, right? To say, oh, we're not doing this again, you know, we just said, oh, no, we'll continue to try. Because it's better to try and fail than fail to try. And we will continue to live by those types of mottos. You understand? This is what we're about here at the THC. Doing the right thing, encouraging the right thing, promoting the right thing, and ensuring the best thing gets done for all of us here in our country. It's a small country, you know. I travel quite a bit. That's my vice. I don't party. I don't drink alcohol. I watch how I spend my money in terms of fast food and stuff. I've a pair of shoes that I've been wearing for about 5 years now. Right? That's how I operate. I do things a little bit differently. I take my money and save my money. I travel now. When I travel, I spend my money. Right? I'm gonna buy things frivolously, but I'm gonna eat a nice dinner here. I might go to a Michelin star restaurant and experience what that is. Right? Why? Because the cost there is the same cost of some of the fancy restaurants down here, and we're spending my money there, right? So now I find so I don't know, call me cheap, call me thrifty, call me conservative. That's what I really think I am. I know what the cost to make a burger is because I was in the restaurant business, and I'm not going to spend 8 times that amount on a burger. I go spend twice, I go spend 3 times because people have to make the profit to pay their rent and pay the employees, and I understand that. But 8 times? 10 times, I robbing people, man. The same burger, I robbing people. And it come like the same thing governances do when they put a $2 million flagpole, so I do support that. Right? You care how good it tastes. Because in most cases, it doesn't taste better than the cheaper one. I could tell you that because I would try it once in a blue moon for my birthday, people's birthdays, right? But outside of that, you know, take my money and go and take the same money I just spend here in a restaurant to carry out 2 people and go and treat myself or 2 people to a Michelin star dinner. I do that, right? And experience life and experience things a little differently. That's just how I do things, right? I've had my days young and lived and had a good run of things. I understand popularity. I understand a lot of the principles of life. I understand the ego of man, right? And humans and what we are about, right? Everybody wants to believe that they're better than somebody, right? The core element of our ego, right? Adult homeless shelters, you know, I've seen that, right? And had to ask them down there, boy, none of you nothing here. What make you think you're better than a man, boy? Right? That's who we are as people and human beings. We need to try to, and that takes us into a whole different level. So let's leave that point alone, right? But we would like to see things change on a better level and a different level for all those things, you know. Anyway, at the local government level, we will do what we can. If elected, we will ensure that you get the best value for money. We will show transparently everything we do, and we'll try to show transparently everything everybody else does to get a better management resources and to get a better value for our money, right? Allow us to be the watchdog in there, allow us to bark and bite who we have to, right? And protect our resources as citizens of this country. Finally, I have a chance, right? If you like what we're saying and if you've read our points, I ask you to seek all the information on our Facebook. You're welcome to call me anytime. 462-8870. That's 462-8870. You can reach me 24/7 up to the election. And if elected, you can reach me 24/7 anytime after the election. Any day, anytime. Try me at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm there for you. But if not elected, only reach me in the daytime and the evening, man. Be reasonable, you know. Human being too. If not elected into the job, then don't expect me to do the job, right? I will try to represent whoever wants me to at some level, but without the official position, only so much I'll be able to do. If you give us the official position, we'll be able to do a lot more for you. Trinidad and Tobago, our Burgesses, and everyone else, I give you thanks for taking the time to listen to us, for taking this time to consider what we have to say. And that's all we've asked you to do. Listen, read, and consider. And if you think what we are saying are sensible and feasible, and you want to support us, then if you want to support us in those 4 electoral districts, that is Val St. Joseph, which I am the candidate for, Marcus Ramke soon. We have Zafir David in Glencoe, Goodwood, La Puerta. We have LeSean Gopi in Paradise, Cora, Tacarigua. And we have Christopher Matura in Kumuto, Tamana. So we're in 4 electoral districts only, unfortunately, this time. But as I say, one person can make all the difference in the world. And we have told you numerous times throughout our meetings how. Yeah. So if you want to support us, please come out tomorrow and cast your vote. Staying home and not casting your vote, come like you're giving it back to the two large entities, because they have their core groups of supporters. They go move around in their maxis and stuff and pick up people and carry them to vote, right? Carry them for lunch and then maybe. I don't know what has happened. I've never done it, so I don't do. I've not jumped in one of those things or done anything like that before, right? But they come in for their core supporters. And their core supporters, as you'll see from the rallies and stuff, who take in the jerseys and flags and signs and millions of dollars from private contractors who will just get it back in millions more later on of your taxpayers' dollars, right? Those supporters are huge. You people who are accustomed not voting because you're fed up with the two large entities and you want something different, this is your chance. This is your, please come out and cast your vote if you want to support us. Right? We need that level of support to be able to actually take this thing, right? Or we be able to at least make a statement. Yeah. So thanks again. We're out of time this evening, and I just really hope that everybody exercises their civic right and what we call their civic duty tomorrow, and go out there and cast your vote for whoever you want to. You have a choice. Every life is all about choices. Every second of the day, it's about choices, right? And this is one of the choices that will affect almost every aspect of the next 3 years of your life in your community. So think wisely, use your intelligence, go with a strong mind, and cast your ballot for whoever you decide to. Yeah. Trinidad and Tobago, thanks once again. Have a blessed time after this. I don't think you're going to see us much on the YouTube channel after this. We are planning to engage in a program called THC Views, where we will keep up a little bit more between now and the next general election, if not elected, of course, within that timing. But we can only hope that one, and if not all of us, are elected to our positions this local government election. And if we are, then we'll be so busy working for you, we would have no time with the video thing, because we have the body camera on all the time for you to see everything we do in any job anyway. That will be the videos instead. So as we continue to do, we hope for the best while preparing for the worst. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. Take it easy for the next few weeks. Come out and vote tomorrow for whoever you want to. Make sure that's your right and that's your duty. Thanks again for all your time and your consideration. Stay blessed, everybody.